What's up? How you
What's up,
feeling?
Darren? We're doing stuff, you know. We're feeling.
I'm tired. I'm sorry, but it's been a busy, long weekend, and
There you
I'm
go.
I'm
Well,
tired. Yeah.
it's been a jam packed action weekend too.
Mm-hmm. It has been. So you know what? We forgot to do the intro last episode, so we'll just make sure
Yeah,
to definitely not
hop
forget
right
this
back
time.
into it, baby.
Exactly. So without further ado, let's go.
Welcome to the greatest podcast on earth. Nothing agreed. We have a great show for you tonight, so stay tuned and buckle up.
Yo, welcome back to another episode of Nothing Agreed. Back with the boys today, Baron.
What's
We
up?
got a you know, it, as football season's winding down, we actually have a lot to talk about today. Actually,
Yes, we
um,
do.
let me just say this: this is being recorded on Monday. So
Mm-hmm.
the national championship game has not happened yet, but we've already previewed the national championship in our previous episode. So I
Mm-hmm.
think today might just be a full NFL day. Today we've got coaching changes, we've got games to talk about, we've got situations we need to talk about. Baron, we got a whole lot to get through.
Mm-hmm.
But
That's
first,
true.
but first,
Yeah.
my question:
What is
what is
it?
it?
How am I doing?
How you doing, Baron? How you doing?
Tired, like I said. Been traveling a lot this weekend. Not get a lot of chances to stop. So that comes here at the end. So today it's just been a lazy Monday, and yeah, that's been about
Did
it.
you go back home?
No, I didn't. Just traveling through the Carolinas. So
Mm.
good old fun. What about you? What'd you get up to?
Man, this weekend I had a
Mm-hmm.
decent amount of work, but it was a lot of enjoying the games. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, that's
Um,
good.
and I have an online college football dynasty as well.
Oh boy.
We're number one in the nation right now. We're number one in the nation. Go TCU. Go TCU.
There you
So
go.
yeah,
That's exciting. All right, well, we'll bring it back to reality a little bit for the divisional round of the NFL playoffs, like you said. And do you want to jump us right into it?
I think we should go straight to the first game.
Go for it.
Bills, Broncos. I mean, it's the same old story of the Bills season ends in a heartbreak. Um, we'll get to everything, but just kind of season ends in a heartbreak. Josh Allen had 4 turnovers. The Bills had 5 turnovers. Yet they forced this game into overtime after Matt Prater, former Denver Bronco Matt Prater, with the hit a 50-yard field goal on the money. It was good. Go 30 all. Both teams touched the ball in overtime, but the Denver Broncos got the job done. Off a couple pass interference calls, interception down the field. We can talk about that one as well. There's a lot to talk about this game there.
Yeah, there is.
And Will Lutz knocked home, I think, like a 21, 22-yard field goal. Nailed it home, and the Denver Broncos are going to be galloping their way back home into the AFC Championship game.
They'll
Um,
host. Well, we'll talk about that, but yeah.
I think we should just talk about what's happened in the game,
Mm-hmm.
right? There's a lot to talk about.
Right.
There's people debating if Josh Allen was the problem, if he wasn't the problem this game.
Mm-hmm.
There's a debate if Brandon Cooks, I think, is the first thing we should talk about. Um, and I think let's just jump into it. The biggest storyline, in my opinion, about this game is the interception that Josh Allen threw his what was it, third interception that game? He had four, was it 2 fumbles, 2 interceptions, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of course, James Cook with 1 fumble, making it 5 total team turnovers.
Mm-hmm.
But that throw deep down the field of Brandon Cooks could have sealed a win, most likely, for the Bills. Interception. Baron, just give me your thoughts.
Um. Well, certainly doesn't help when. Obviously, we'll get to it later. When you have a very similar play that happened the day after, and another close game. So, but if you want to go back and look at it at the time, I mean, I think that's really honestly a call that I think could really have gone either way. I I think you could have made an argument for why he was down. I think you could have made an argument for why he didn't have possession of the ball and it was still alive. So in that moment, I think it's just kind of too close to call for anyone to really be like, yeah, that's blatant right there. And to me, that this should not be the real story of the game. There's a much bigger, overlooming story of the game that we'll get to, but that call personally, I do not think was wrong. I could see why that would be an interception. I didn't. To me, the ball was bobbling. So,
Baron, this is not really the name of our podcast, what I'm about to do, but that's my thought. That's my thought when it happened. That's my thought when I saw the review. And that is still my thought. I thought it was an interception, personally. We see a lot of these 50-50 balls, but I feel like Brandon Cooks never had true full possession of this football.
And what do
right?
And the other big thing is that we have to make a big point about now is surviving the ground, which is something that he clearly did not do. Yeah, no, I think that's an interception. I think if you want to talk about the refs influencing that game, and everyone who listens to the show knows how I felt about the referees this season, but I think if you look at that second pass interference call, again, I think both of them were kind of questionable, but the one with Tre'Davious White, I think that one was more pass interference. I think people get mad.
Yeah.
I think people get mad at the first one that put them. But if you look back at that when Nick Bosa clearly roughed the passer, so they would have gotten that penalty anyway. So
yeah.
I really don't think. Again, I don't think you can really look at the refs and say they had a huge outcome on the way that this game ended. Again, I think there's another entity that deserves much more to blame that we'll get to. But yeah, I think if you look at those penalties, but it really was not that big of an argument.
But this is amazing, right?
Mm-hmm.
I completely agree with you. Once again, you brought up the point I was going to bring up is that first pass interference. People arguing, well, there was that roughing the passer on Joey Bosa, right? So we can talk about how many yards it affected. I think it was like a 2-yard difference, probably 2 or 5 yard max yard difference. And that deep ball that Tre'Davious White got there, he was early.
Yeah, he held his arm down. That's pass.
Yeah, and Bo Nix threw an absolute high arcing rainbow. I mean, that was purposefully, a high arcing shot. So I think that was pass interference. I really don't blame Tre'Davious White from his perspective. If I put myself in his shoes, I don't think it's pass interference. I don't blame him for going absolutely off on the referees because at that point the game's over. I mean, you need a block at that point, or you need the ball to fall down. You need a miracle. So just get your money's worth and have your season end. But I agree. I think that was an interception. I don't think the officials are to blame on this game, at least in the overtime phase, the most crucial parts. And you want to talk about an entity that is more, kind of deserving of that blame. Let's hear what it is.
And I think a lot of people are going to sit here and say that this defense really put him under a microscope. He had 33 points. That's not good enough. I don't think it's on them. If you really take a step back and look at that too, I think this game falls solely on the shoulders of Josh Allen. I don't think there's anyone else you can really blame here. Just his hero ball antics. I think that's ultimately what you look at. I think if you look at the end of the first half, right? It's 10-10. The Broncos, there's 22 seconds left, and James Cook fumbled the ball, gave them some momentum to get into the scoring range, blah, blah, blah. There's 52 seconds something left, and they throw that deep ball to Lil Jordan Humphreys in the end zone for a touchdown, go up 17-10. They kick the ball off. There's 22 seconds left going into halftime, right? And what is Josh? Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah, 22 seconds going into halftime from the 25-yard line. And again, I think maybe you could look to Sean McDermott as the head coach a little and be like, yeah, this is kind of somewhat on you. But I think what really happened is he goes to his quarterback, his guy, and says, what do you want to do here? And they're like, yeah, let's try. It's a playoff. Let's get some points on the board. And Josh Allen, how much you want to say that fumbles on him, doesn't protect the ball very well when he's running, fumbles the ball, gives the Broncos the ball back within their own field goal range with 2 seconds left. They kick a field goal, get 3 more points going into halftime. Now it's a 10-point game. You come out of halftime. You get the ball out of halftime. What's the first thing you do? You fumble again. Now the Broncos have the ball, and I'd give all the credit to you. And this is where I say I can't really blame the Broncos defense. They held that they let that fumble only lead to 3 points. A fumble in your own red zone only put up 3 points. The Broncos didn't score again until under 2 minutes left in the second half.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I can't look at this Bills defense and be like, yeah, you guys sold the game. They've been on the field the entire time. They were tired. I think if you look back at Josh Allen's first interception, that was putrid of him, or horrific, however that word's supposed to be used. But the Bills defense just got a turnover off of Bo Nix. And what does Josh Allen do the very next play? There's a bad ball down the field into double coverage and gets the ball intercepted. Now the Bills defense comes right back out on the field and has to bail the offense out again. Then you look at play in overtime, right? Bills defense is on the field first. Broncos got the ball to start. They force a stop. The Broncos defense punts, or the Broncos offense punts. Now Josh Allen has to just get his team a field goal. They move on. They move on to the AFC Championship game. It's 3rd and 10. You need 10 yards, not all of it. Now I'm not going to say that. Again, Brandon Cook should have caught that ball and come down with it. But again, it's just that mindset of it's hero ball time. I'm winning this game. You don't need that deep shot. You could have easily gotten a 10-yard dig route, gotten someone on the run maybe, or just someone on the catch, sit down. You don't need this deep ball. So yeah, I'm gonna put a little blame on him for that interception down late in the game or in overtime. So, and that's just what happened in game. You want to take a step and look back at how I guess the NFL world is reacting to it. I'm sure you know it's not good. This was the easiest route he's had to the playoffs his whole entire career, and he's botched it. So yeah, I think it's time we have to start having these uncomfortable conversations about Josh Allen. Personally, he's fallen out of my top 5.
Come on now. Join the side, baby.
I just think at some point, again, there's always been these great quarterbacks throughout NFL history who put up stats and who could throw the ball 1,000,000 yards, but they never do anything in their careers. And yeah, I mean, if he didn't have his handout MVP, would Josh Allen really be going? Would he really be on his way to the Hall of Fame? I mean, if he retired today, would Josh Allen be a first ballot Hall of Fame quarterback? That's my question.
I'm a baseball guy. Right?
I know you are.
So that to me, my Hall of Fame is very, very strict.
Right.
And there's probably, again, this is just coming off the top of my head, there's maybe 2 to 3 quarterbacks right now, if they retired, I'd put them in the Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
2 up on mine is Mahomes and Rodgers.
Yeah.
That's 2 guys that put in the Hall of Fame.
And I agree with you.
Maybe, I think Stafford, for me, is a fringe lower, because I'm a very strict guy. And I don't know if Stafford I don't even think he would make the Hall of Fame in my very strict Hall of Fame. So, yeah, let me say this. You know what the iceberg theory is? And it's a very popular YouTube thing where it's like how knowledgeable things are, where it's like, hey, this is very well known, and then this is like nobody barely knows this.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
I kind of want to say that's kind of Josh Allen with the what if statements, where Justin Herbert's the very well known what if man. I feel like Josh Allen is on that lower end, and he's starting to climb up because it's all about if Josh Allen had this, if Josh Allen had that, if Josh Allen did this, if Josh Allen had that, you know? So it's kind of making me a little angry.
Yeah, no, I'm just going to say this is very, I'm sorry if this gets a little political, but this is very slowly turning into a racist kind of situation. I've seen quarterbacks that are black do the exact same things, if not worse, or if not better than Josh Allen, and get slandered for it. He does things the exact same, or if not worse, and it's just all the excuses in the world. And yeah, I really don't want to talk about the Eagles this episode, but let's bring it up. Jalen Hurts had a 4-turnover game. Lamar Jackson had a 4-turnover game this year.
I was going to say Lamar Jackson's a great example.
C.J. Stroud, we'll talk about him later, but I was just looking at Twitter this morning. I heard it was awful yesterday for him. Again, Josh Allen had a 4-turnover. Again, I think he had one of the worst performances we've seen in this playoffs from the quarterbacks, and all he's going to get online is excuses, and excuses. So, yeah, I'm sick of the Josh Allen coddling. I'm sick of the excuse and build up, and I'm going to say how it is. He is not a top 5 quarterback in this league. He does not have that mentality it is to win. He plays hero ball. He plays too sloppy. And you know what I saw the other day? I think this perfectly encapsulates Josh Allen. He's like the Michael Jordan of Jameis Winston's. See,
I see where you're coming from, but I don't agree. But I see where you're coming from. I don't agree with that.
that's fair.
I think that there needs to be a little more respect on Josh Allen's name. Remember, because Jameis Winston, the reason I'm disagreeing with it is the reason people say that is because it's a high touchdown, high turnover ratio, or just turnover rate. But
It's all he's known for is his big arm and his ability to move around a lot. He's very good at scrambling
he's
and
very good at
moving the
mobile.
pocket. But let me make this point too before we get to that. He is 30 years old. At some point, quarterbacks with that play style have to adjust to becoming a more pocket passer because they can't be that mobile, or their careers are just over early. That's just how it goes. So at some point, we have to see Josh Allen, when that mobility leaves him, when he can't play that way anymore. What are we going to be looking at? Are we going to be looking at a guy who's still a top 5 guy in the league, or are we going to be looking at an old veteran whose only worth is mentoring the young guy that someone's bringing in? So I'm just, again, these are the uncomfortable conversations that we now have to have this offseason based on what we've seen. Again, there was no there was no Patrick Mahomes, there was no Joe Burrow, there was no Lamar Jackson. Up until he went up against, he still put up a lot of good points against a very good Broncos defense. I'm not going to say that he had the capabilities. He had all the capabilities to win this year. He had the number 1 running back in the league in James Cook. He had a top 3 offensive line to play with. He had a very good, or I won't say very good, but he still had a good defense that helped him where he needs it. He had everything he needed this year to get it done, and that's all everyone needed him to do is to just keep propping him up all this, but he can't do it, and I'm done with it. There's no more coddling. Like, we have to say it how it is. He can't win, and even when it's wide open for him. And yeah, I mean, he might not even be the best quarterback in his division. We might be having those conversations in a couple of years. So yeah, I just think we really need to look at him under a microscope and be like, yeah, it's cool that your hero ball antics, when they work, yeah, it looks cool and you look cool and all that, but this is what happens when it doesn't. So yeah.
Here's where I'll defend him, and I know it's the what if man, but here's where I'll defend him. And I'm gonna go a little bit at the Bills organization for this, and I brought this up pregame, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ty Johnson's out of this game, which is a big blow to the pass game for your running back. But remember when I talked about they don't have any weapons? They have 3 wide receivers. They have James Cook, but they have the 2 tight end, but they need more wide receivers just in case anything happens. I mean, they had no one out there. I mean, remember, we're talking about Keon Coleman, right? Keon Coleman, we both know is not that, right? He's a healthy scratch.
Right.
And now you're relying your season on a healthy scratch guy is just you got to go out and make some noise in free agency. I know it sucks.
Yeah.
But like Adam Thielen retired, but he's not like you can find a 26, 27-year-old who can be a name out there that can catch 2 balls for 30 yards.
Oh, no. Do not go get Adam. Adam Thielen does not move
No.
a needle for
That's what
you.
I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Don't get Adam Thielen, right?
Okay.
Everyone we think about free agency are like, oh, Adam Thielen, even though he just retired, right? But you want to get yourself a 26, 27-year-old, right? Or elevate someone from the practice squad that's going to be hungry, Get someone that's hungry out there. So I don't like it, I don't like it. And I'm going to talk about hungriness later on and drive. But, I don't like it. Now we talk a lot about the Bills here, and I think I'm going to continue that conversation because honestly, we can talk about the Broncos. The only thing really to talk about the Broncos is people call them overrated. People may still have those feelings, but they're in the AFC Championship game.
Right.
The only thing really to talk about with the Broncos is Bo Nix and Jared Stidham. How much we really want to glance over that, I'll let you decide. But I want to stay on the Bills for a second.
I think we'll talk more about the Broncos next episode.
I want to stay on the Bills for a second.
Yeah, I think that's what we're going to spend a lot of our time on.
Sean McDermott is out as the head coach of the Bills. It was announced by Ian Rappaport. Really cool video, by the way, just because I'm a sports media nerd. Really cool video of him getting the news while he was going to talk about the game. And then he had to hop off the air for a couple minutes, and then he had to break the news on air. I thought that was really cool. But he announced it live. McDermott is out. McDermott being one of the best regular season coaches, but 8-8 in the playoffs and not getting it done. I don't think this was the biggest stage, but not getting done on the biggest stages like the AFC Championship and the Divisionals, Baron. Was this the right move by Buffalo?
No, it was not. And people are gonna sit here and look at his failures as a head coach and be like, yes, this isn't good, right? Like this isn't sustainable. But he's a defensive guy. He's a defensive minded coach, and you look at his, like you said, one of the best regular season coaches in the NFL. You look at his tenure with Josh Allen. Josh Allen has had a top 10 defense, I think, every year in his career except maybe this one. And that's Sean McDermott. So again, I think this is going to be a very interesting offseason for Buffalo. I'm very interested to see who they bring in, if it's an offensive or defensive guy. I think kind of based on some of the early conversations and people they're interested in, they're looking at an offensive guy, and I think that's really going to hurt this team because, again, like we said, I think this Bills defense as a unit is something that's kind of been on the decline for the past couple of seasons, and if you don't have a good guy at the head of that running the ship, then it's not going to stay good. So it's just going to only keep declining. And yeah, so I think if you're looking toward the future, you trot Josh Allen out there with a bottom 10 defense, we might not even be talking about a playoff appearance next season with how good the Patriots look. We'll see how good the rest of the AFC divisions look at next season. But again, this is a team that just kind of feels like it's on the decline, whereas you have a young team in the conference who's about to play in the conference championship who's on the rise. So, and again, people are sitting back here and be like, oh, this is the best position for any coordinator coach to go to right now. And I'm kind of sitting here as an offensive guy, not really. This is an organization that very clearly has a lot of their offensive money tied into their quarterback. They don't seem they're very much going to have to probably pay their running back coming up based on the season he's had and past seasons he's had. They don't seem very lenient to spend big money on a receiver to help their quarterback out. It just seems like this organization doesn't have a very good track record of helping Josh Allen out or this offense out when it comes down to these late season collapses. So, I mean, yeah, I think the big name right now for the Bills right now is everyone wants to bring Dable back for the head coach gig because his offense was the best when Josh Allen played the best. It would fully unlock, as a younger guy, I guess, he would fully unlock the offensive potential, blah, blah, blah. But I'd take a step back and be like, he's just going to get fired in 2 more seasons. Mm-hmm. Like, the defense won't be good. They're not going to have like a top receiver to really help Josh Allen out like we've talked about before. So, yeah, as an offensive guy, this does not seem like a very attractive job. So, yeah, I'm really interested to see who they get in there. But yeah, it's going to be a very, very uncomfortable off season for the AFC or for the Bills.
I want to ladder this into a scenario, Baron, where these 3 quarterbacks, people can argue, are in the same tier. I think are pretty close in the same situation here, and all 3 have an argument to be made that you've talked about before, which is go and get them. Okay. Who do you think has the best situation out of these 3 teams' quarterbacks, as you will know? The Cincinnati Bengals with Joe Burrow, the Baltimore Ravens with Lamar Jackson, and the Buffalo Bills with Josh Allen. Who do you think has the best situation right now?
I mean, right now it would still be the Buffalo Bills, I think, with Josh Allen. Again, I think this might seem a little crazy or ridiculous, but I think maybe a guy like Robert Saleh in that head coaching role, just a guy who's knows NFL defense and can keep this kind of status quo of this good Bills defense, because we know that this works in the regular season for Josh Allen. Like, we know you give him a good defense, he'll win enough games in the regular season to get you to the postseason. Yeah, I think until you're ready to hit that hard reset button, I feel like that's kind of what you have to do and just kind of hope that one year it breaks through. But here we are sitting here again talking about how it didn't, because, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say that Josh Allen is not talented. He is one of the most talented athletes in the NFL, but the simple fact of the matter is he cannot win big football games. And until you as an organization want to say, we want to win big games, you have to just kind of maintain this status quo of regular season dominance and postseason flimsiness. So yeah, I think you kind of just have to because again, if you want to touch on the other two situations, I think if you're Joe Burrow, you want a new team. This organization has proven nothing to you that they're serious about winning anything. And again, this is if Joe Burrow also wants to win anything. If he just wants to keep collecting the blank checks and getting beat up in Cincinnati, then yeah, he can keep doing that. But if he wants to go win and play high-level football at a winning level again, he probably needs to go somewhere else. So, and Lamar Jackson, it's kind of getting to the point where maybe again we have to see who they hire. Again, they need to find a new head coach and offensive coordinator. I think a new defensive coordinator too, if I'm not mistaken. Also, their team's kind of old as well. So again, it might not be this awesome. Yeah. So
I think he's still there because
Okay.
I think Zach Orr is still there because he turned the defense around to actually one of the better defenses in the league.
but
the second half
he might be getting some new job offers though. That's the rumor.
Yeah.
So we'll see if they keep that. If they lose all three important coaches, and again that team's old, and again it might not be this offseason, but it might be next offseason. We're talking about Lamar Jackson looking for a new team. So yeah, I think right now, I think it's still probably Buffalo's the most stable. I think we're a few, although it feels weird because yeah, you look at Josh Allen's playoff resume, and you'd think at some point Bills fans would be like, all right, I mean, this isn't we need something needs to change. So, and I think there's certainly. Again, I think this is still probably probably the first playoff loss I could probably look at Josh Allen solely and be like, you blew this. But it just isn't a good time for this to come. I think the most obvious one you can look at and be like, you blew this. So
There's games where I can be like, Josh Allen did your best. You played your heart out and you lost.
I'm talking about playoff games.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm
Okay,
saying. Like,
yeah.
the best example would be the 13-second comeback from the Kansas City
Oh yeah,
Chiefs.
no, I would not blame him. I don't blame him for that one. But
like,
again,
in his younger years,
yeah.
there's some games I can look at in the playoffs. I'm like, damn, that's the reason he lost because of Josh Allen.
But now here we are at this point, the most recent game.
Yeah.
I'm looking at him and be like, this is not good. So,
I think this is something I want to bring up is that this might be a record episode because we are on the same page. A lot of it actually, which is pretty funny. And we'll probably have to put a bow on this conversation because we'll have a lot of off-season talk about this.
Oh, absolutely.
Just because now we fully transitioned to football, so we'll talk about a lot of this. Don't worry. But I think Buffalo is the attractive girl that's super toxic. And here's what I mean by that.
It's a great analogy.
Is that Buffalo, the opening, you got Josh Allen, you got James Cook, you have one of the winningest teams in the league. You got yourself a great fan base. You're going into a new stadium. They just put their makeup on. They got all of that. But when you really pull I don't want to say the skin back because that's really weird.
The makeup
but
off.
when you really look inside the personality and you're like, wow, this person sucks. You know, that's kind of what Buffalo is. This job opening to me, it's scary. It's really is kind of scary. Because when you get in that position, I think Buffalo's in a really scary point right now. Because I think they'll be pressured to – I'm not saying this is the guy. I'm just saying this is an example. They're going to be pressured – to hire a guy like a Mike McCarthy, right?
Guy that'd be really bad though.
A guy who has experience, who's lifted the Lombardi, because that's exactly what they want. Because you don't want to bring in a young guy with a team that the window is now closing, and you kind of have to instill everything new and let him take the reins for the first time. You want a guy. I think this would have been a perfect. Call me crazy. But this would have been a perfect time to look at some of those more experienced coaches that got let go. But even then, you look at the experienced guys who got let go, like Tomlin, Harbaugh, and McCarthy, all playoff shortages. So I don't know what the Bills can do because they might bring in a new guy. And the first expectation is you need to go win the Super Bowl. I mean, you need to go win the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
so
it's
I think
really
this
bad.
Is a really bad job opening.
And let me say this too. And this is just to kind of throw these ideas out here, but like you said, but it's like a win now team, but it doesn't feel like it is. Like it just doesn't feel like it has that capability with Josh Allen. And I think if anything, he's proven that he's not one of those quarterbacks who can just take up an entire team's salary. Like Sounds like Josh Allen needs a super team around him to win the Super Bowl, Brooks. Kind of crazy, right?
I mean, like an Eagle,
That concept. But yeah, no, Josh Allen would not win the Super Bowl on the Eagles. Don't start that blasphemy. But I think if you're also the Bills organization, like you said, I think if you look in history and you look at those coaching hires, those guys, those late or those hires for those guys that failed that already got fired, those don't usually work. I don't think they ever have worked, actually. I don't think you've ever seen an NFL coach who won the Super Bowl once have a bunch of bad years after, get fired, spend some time not even coaching at the NFL level, then get rehired and win a Super Bowl. I don't think that's ever happened. So if you're the Bills, you might have to start having some uncomfortable conversations too and be like, maybe it's time to see what Josh Allen's worth is. Because if you can get,
we talked about that a lot, you know.
but that's what I'm saying. Like, you look at next year's quarterback draft class, it has potential to be pretty good.
Hey, remember we said that about this quarterback.
That's
draft
true.
class, too.
It's true. But again, we have to kind of say that about every year, though, or at least every 3 years at some point. But not this draft class. I'm talking about next year's draft class. It looks pretty good as of right now. So all I'm saying, if you could get like 4 first-round picks for Josh Allen, that's not something. That's just something you might have to entertain at this point of the Bills' career, or the Josh Allen-led Bills stage. That's all I'm saying.
Is Josh Allen the Luka Doncic of the NFL? Really good numbers, right? Has gotten to the big stage before. Has played great in some of those big stages, but can't get the final piece.
No, he's not.
Might get traded for a big.
Because Josh Allen's never dragged his team to the Super Bowl. I watched Luka Doncic do that. That's actually kind of disrespectful to Luka Doncic. I'm not gonna lie.
Is it?
Yeah, he dragged that Mavericks team to the finals when they lost to the Celtics.
Isn't that the one team that also had? Wasn't that also with Kyrie or no?
I think that was the first year with there was no Jalen Brunson, so I think that was the first year of Kyrie, but he was injured for like half. But he was injured in the finals. You're right, but still, yeah, no. But Luka Doncic was still the workhorse of that team. I'm sorry, that's disrespectful to Luka Doncic. Josh Allen is the Dak Prescott of the AFC. Let's move on, because he sucks. What was that? Oh, that was the 49ers Seahawks game. Was the night game. Yes.
Let's talk about the 49ers and Seahawks game. This one, in my opinion, should go much quicker.
Yes, it should.
Than this discussion.
Absolutely, it should, because it happened exactly what I thought what would happen, or what I thought would happen. Oh, hold on. Let's turn my microphone off. I thought would happen happened. This was a 49ers team who went up against a handicapped team in the wild card, barely beat that team on the road, and Brooks is over here spewing Kyle Shanahan is a quarterback wizard. He can take any roster as far to at least the conference finals. He's that good of a coach. And he got butt fucked, excuse my profanity, on national television by that 49ers defense. Good God. That was awesome. I love the stat. The Seahawks scored enough points to win that football game in the first 13 seconds.
I was actually going to say this, and I don't mean it off this stat, but I think the game was over in the first 13 seconds. I'm not going to lie. I think the game was over.
Like I said, again, I sat here last episode. I said this 49ers team was playing a beaten up, mentally defeated, handicapped, pathetic shell of a team that they barely defeated. But now they're playing a well-rested, actual NFL division winning team, and their home turf, mind you. And they beat the crap out of them, 42-6. Not really much to be said. Again, 49ers were a very injured team. They didn't really have anyone playing. So yeah, we'll see what they got next year, because there's really not much else to say. The Seahawks are moving on to the next round, where they will host the Rams, and we'll talk more about that matchup next episode. Because do you really want to have anything to say about the Seahawks in that game? They just dominated.
Yeah, I really don't think Sam Darnold did much, because he didn't need to do much.
He doesn't.
No,
exactly.
I'm still a little worrisome about that. But other than that, it looks like one of the best trades during that deadline is that Rashid Shaheed trade towards the Saints. I actually was a big praiser of that because I saw a lot of Rashid Shaheed just because I'm an NFC South truther. So I like that trade. Really paid off for them. I don't really, again, we really gloss over the teams that get eliminated. So I'm down to just say, congratulations, Seattle. Welcome to the NFC Championship game. And let's talk about the 49ers. This one could be quick as well. Um, I have my prediction for the 49ers. I can say
Go for it.
here um, the 49ers Super Bowl window is officially shut. It is over. That team is too old to make a play. And here's why. I think George Kittle's career, I love you, George Kittle, but I think it's officially finished. Um, and I'm not saying like he's trash, but I'm saying he's not going to play like the George Kittle of George Kittles because of a torn Achilles at that age. He's now winding down his career. It's really going to do a lot of harm. Christian McCaffrey is what, 32 now, maybe?
Yeah.
I mean, he's getting old, and I think C-Max years, especially for a running back, it's starting to be like, yo, time is ticking. Okay. Brock Purdy, how much is Brock Purdy going to lead you? I think Brock Purdy is kind of those guys that can get you far enough in a divisional or maybe even glance the conference championship, but I don't trust him past that. With who he's gonna be working with. You have issues at wide receiver, right? You have Brandon Ayuk who's gonna get cut. You're gonna take some dead money from that. And then you really don't have anybody else outside of that to make great play. You have Juwan Jennings, great receiver, but is Juwan Jennings a true number one guy that you can pair some of those names with? We'll see the free agency they get.
Especially if a contender is willing to throw him some money too.
I think Robert Saleh is going to be moved, and that's going to
Absolutely.
affect the 49ers defense. And that 49ers defense has already lost some of its main pieces from that Super Bowl run, and their players are getting older as well. I think the 49ers have been great the last 6 years. You know, they've been really good. But I think the official window for the 49ers is closed. I think it's time to glance at what can happen. This is why I don't like paying quarterbacks like Brock Purdy all that money. And we will see. I think Brock Purdy's a good quarterback in this league, but is he worth that much? That's a thing. So I think the 49ers window is officially closed. And Baron, we're going to talk about this a lot, but as of right now, my first thought is I might not have the 49ers making the playoffs next year.
As long as Christian McCaffrey's playing well, they're going to. I mean, he's, in my opinion, still probably the best all-around like offensive player. Like, he's really good at everything. So as long as he's playing at a high level, I think they're going to be fine. But I do kind of agree with a lot of what you said there. In terms of the long-term output for the 49ers, they're definitely going to lose Robert Saleh. He's probably going to get a head coaching role again, probably with the Bills. That's who I would hire, but we will see. But yeah, we'll see who they bring in to replace him to be their defensive coordinator. That's going to be a hard void to fill from this last season. And you talked about Brock Purdy and his skill set. And while I do think he is somewhat capable of playing at a higher level than I thought, there is that tendency to commit mistakes. And when he makes those mistakes, it is hard to play around them. So it's a very interesting offseason for them for sure. But I think if you look in their division, I don't think it's all too gloomy. Obviously, the Cardinals, you have no idea what they're doing at this point in time. The Rams, I mean, once Matthew Stafford retires, I think they're going to sort of hit a hill. It's going to be an interesting spot for the Rams when Stafford retires, because if they can't replace that quarterback production immediately, they're probably going to have to blow everything up and rebuild. So that could give you some optimism that they might not be competitive. And then the Seahawks, they also have a very great roster, but again, kind of at the same time, how much more can Sam Darnold play at this level? Once he's good and gone, you're kind of in the same familiar, but you're in the same situation as the Rams are. Can you replace that quarterback play immediately, or do you have to hit the hard reset button? So I think there is a little optimism in terms of your positioning in terms of at least in the NFC West. But yeah, I think if you look at all these other young NFC teams, the Lions, Bears, Commanders, maybe Saints, Falcons, Eagles, I just think there's not a lot of optimism for the next 5 years.
Yeah, I've made my point in case. I think that's really all I need to say.
Yeah.
And I think eventually losing Robert Saleh is going to be a big blow.
Absolutely.
So we're going to see how much the Niners can bounce back from that. But I think this team seems like, you know what this team seems like? This team seems like it's going to be the Detroit Lions of last and this year.
Okay. We'll
a
see.
team that is going to have a little bit of high expectations next year, of course, but is not going to be able to replicate that, and the coordinator loss is really going to hurt them. So
I don't know if it'll be that big. Again, I think this was a Detroit Lions team that good amount of people thought could be in the Super Bowl. I don't think anyone really expects this 49ers team coming out of this season. Is going to be contending for a Super Bowl next year. I think those expectations are also. I think I agree with you, and they're somewhat related, but I think the severity and the scale is much more drastic for the Lions.
That's fair. But I still think it's a good point in case of just kind of similar profiles.
That's fair. But we can move right along. What was the next one? Oh, Patriots, Texans. This one might take a little bit too.
Really? Okay, let's do it.
Not really. I mean, what's the biggest takeaway of this game? It's official. CJ Stroud sucks. He's not good at football. You've defended him at points. I at maybe 1 or 2 points defended him, but yeah, I think we just saw a rookie phenomenon and jack squat since, because boy does he suck. Although he does have the same amount of playoff wins as Lamar Jackson, so that raises another narrative. All this is just points back to Jalen Hurts is a top 5 quarterback in the league, but I digress.
You weren't gonna bring up the Eagles, dog.
I know. But that was
started this episode.
That one. It's just too easy. I'm sorry. But let's get to it. Yeah, CJ Stroud sucks. Any argument there?
I think losing Nico Collins in that
Stop.
I think it is.
It's not that big.
Let me make losing your number 1 receiver sucks. All right. What's the 4-4? 4 interceptions?
Yeah.
Got it. All right. Let me move. I'll make 4 points as to why I can defend him then. But I agree with you. Okay.
All right.
Losing Nico Collins is big.
Okay.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
One of those interceptions was not his fault because his receiver dropped it straight through his hands. Okay. But I'm not going to use it defending. The offensive line is bad. Let's be real here. The offensive line is not that good. Bring that down. Okay. CJ Stroud, his play style as rookie year is a lot different than what they're giving him there. I'm going to get that. And finally, I'm going to use this point that 1 interception that was not his fault. So there you go. But I think CJ Stroud it's bad that his peak is his rookie year. Well, it really hurts me, because I actually like CJ Stroud, because I defend him a lot. But it really does hurt to see that's the player he's turning into. It really does hurt.
Well, it puts the Texans in the worst position possible because, I mean, you cannot offer him a second contract based on what you've seen. I mean, if you're the Texans, you as an organization just simply cannot. He is individually cost you 2 playoff games. I mean, this is if you look at the AFC right now, obviously at that point they were very blessed to play a very beaten up and just old Steelers team. They had to all they had to do was beat a Patriots team who had not really played a very challenging defense or a challenging team at all in the season. Again, 32nd strength of schedule or whatever. It's the 7th easiest schedule in the Super Bowl era of all time. You just had to beat that team, and then you would have gotten to play a damn near 3rd string quarterback to go to the Super Bowl. That's all you had to do. All you had to do is not turn the ball over 4 fucking times, and you had a very good chance at playing with the Super Bowl. And he is gifted probably one of the greatest defenses the NFL has ever seen, and that's what he does with it. So yeah, I'm not making any excuses for him. I don't care if his offensive line is bad. So is Justin Herbert's. I don't care if his top wide receiver was out. That happens to guys all over the league all the time. He's bad. He is not a good quarterback. He had one good rookie season. He probably had a play style that took defensive coordinators by storm. They spent an offseason, studied it, figured it out. It's not that bad, or it's not that good. Neither is he. He just sucks. That's just the simple fact of the matter. And now, I think if I'm the Texans, I'm looking at teams like the Steelers, the Jets, and seeing if they want to trade for him, because I cannot, in any good conscience, offer him a second contract. And if I'm the Texans, I'm getting an interim quarterback for the season if you do trade him, or you give him one more chance, because this year's quarterback class, like we said, is not that great. Next year's is looking really good. So I think that this next season, if they ultimately do want to keep him, that's got to be his last chance. If you shit the bed next season, you're done, because these next round of quarterbacks just are too good to pass up. I mean, you look at his defense; they're young too. Like, this is a defense that can be good for years to come. So you can't keep this dude. So I'm sorry that you think he's a cool dude or whatnot, but he's not a good football player, and maybe he needs a new team. So maybe that's what the best thing that needs to happen to him. But yeah, the excuses have just got to stop at some point. He's not good.
Yeah. I'm just going to move swiftly along because Texans really don't know what to say about them. They are kind of in that middle territory, and I agree with you on C.J. Stroud. Remember, he's going to his fourth year next year, and of course with the rookies, you have that fifth-year option. And I don't think that fifth-year option is going to be picked up right now. So I think you do, but I think you got to go sign someone that can be a backup. But they have Davis Mills. You know, they signed Davis Mills as one of the more lucrative backup deals. So you had the option to go to Davis Mills. When I was watching it with my friends, we all looked around and said, why they should try to put in Davis Mills. And I think more teams should do this because CJ Stroud was not going to get done that day. You need to try. Your season is on the line.
Right.
You need to try anything you can to try to win a football game.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and I think this raises a good
legal,
point.
That's
Brooks.
legal and not cheating. So
yeah, and I think this raises a good point. I think we're going to start, and this is my kind of prediction, but I think this sort of next era of football, I think you're going to start maybe seeing quarterback contracts go down. I think if you look at some of these good teams from the past at least 3 years, you see that you don't need a great quarterback to win. You can put good players at every other position around them and still win a Super Bowl. Look at the Eagles last year. Look at the Lions. Look at the Seahawks. Look at the Rams even. Matthew Stafford is a good player, but he's old. He's got his limitations, so they surround him with talent. Look at the Vikings. That's kind of the same model they're trying to implement as well. You go to the AFC. There's not a lot of teams in the AFC doing that, but I'm just saying, you look at teams around the league, they invest in their defense, they invest in their skill positions, and they get quarterbacks that don't have to be the best of the best athletically. They just do enough to put their teams in position to win. And yeah, you might start to see those contracts just maybe not start to reflect that as much. I just think at some point there's going to be it. Like, I get the quarterback is the most important position on the field. But at some point, I mean, when you have influence like that, when you have teams that can prove that you don't need, all right, never mind. You're just not gonna.
I see what you're trying to make, but I think you're actually making the exact reason why the quarterback will get paid more.
Mm-hmm.
Because the fact that it's such a premium position, right? The hardest position, some people say, and now it's at an even more of a premium. If you get your guy, you're locking him down for however you want, right? We can talk about the last 10 Super Bowls, Baron.
Mm-hmm.
I think one quarterback in the last 10 Super Bowls has not been an elite quarterback you would give a max contract to. That's Nick Foles, right? And I think even to get to that position, Carson Wentz was playing at an MVP level that season that you would give a max contract to. So let's talk about the guys that won the Super Bowls. Tom Brady, greatest of all time. You'd slam every single penny you could into a max deal for him. Russell Wilson, at the time he was playing, that was a max player. That was a max player, Russell Wilson was. Patrick Mahomes, max player.
Right.
Matthew Stafford, max player.
Yep.
Right? The only exception, we can talk about Jalen Hurts, right? You would agree he's probably a max player, right? So every Peyton Manning, that's a max player, right? You talk about the limitations, but still, they're elite at the position. Although Peyton Manning can't run, he would still say he's one of the best quarterbacks of all time, one of the best arm accurate, can read the defense, know what to do at the line of scrimmage, stuff like that, right?
Right.
So all these guys are elite quarterbacks. I think you're kind of proving that. And now you look at who's going to go to the Super Bowl, right? And we'll talk about that later, but I think you have two elite quarterbacks in Drake May and Matthew Stafford, the 1 and 2 this year as well. If Sam Darnold makes it, there's an argument he's been top 5 this year. And we talk about what elite means. And then Jared Stidham, right? And Jared Stidham would be that one major outlier here, Baron, because Sam Darnold's getting paid $33 million. Drake May will get a max contract, and Matthew Stafford is a max contract. So I think it's going to get paid more with that argument.
Okay. Well, let me put this in simple terms for you, right? When I say like top 5 quarterback, I mean like physically, athletically. If every condition was even for every quarterback across the league, is Sam Darnold the top 5 quarterback? Everything is even. Same players, same defense they're going up against, same plays being called. Everything is even. Is Sam Darnold the top 5 quarterback in the league?
I think he would be top 8 or 9.
It's fine.
Maybe in that 8 or 9 range.
That's fine. But I think that's kind of the point that it's being proven is, see, guys can have seasons where statistically they put up numbers that are top 5, but look at a team like the Bills. They pay their defense. They have a good defense. They pay their quarterback. Josh Allen makes a lot of money. Look at their receivers. They don't have money for a top-end receiver. What's their biggest flaw? They don't have a guy that they can go to at the end of the game to get a receiver. James Cook, they're going to have to pay him. And mind you, he's still on a rookie deal. Once they give him big money, they're going to start losing defensive talent. Whereas you look at a team, I'm not even going to use the Eagles in this example. Look at a team like the Lions. They're giving big money to their skill guys, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jahmyr Gibbs, Sam Laporta, their offensive line, and their defense. Obviously, their defense needs to be retooled, but that's what they've been doing in the past couple of years. No one is sitting here saying Jared Goff is athletically or physically is a top 5 quarterback in the league. But when you put him around all these great players, again, their ceiling was a Super Bowl. If they didn't lose to the if they didn't have that one stump against the Commanders in the divisional round last year, they would have hosted the NFC Championship game, and they had a good chance to go out and win the Super Bowl. So that's kind of the point I'm making is you look at these teams. You look at the Patrick Mahomes-led Chiefs this year when the Chiefs have all this money tied up in Patrick Mahomes. Well, look at their offense. They didn't have money for receivers. They don't have money for running backs. They puttered out and they died. Their season was over. You look at the Ravens. Lamar Jackson makes all this money. They don't have money to go get a high-end receiver. They're stuck with Zay Flowers. They can't get offensive line help, or they can't get a good can't help on the defense. Quarterback's making all this money. I think the biggest crime of it all is the Bengals. Look how much money Joe Burrow makes. Obviously, his 2 receivers make the rest of the money, but have no money for an offensive line, have no money for a defense. So I think at some point you're going to see teams start to realize that maybe you don't need the best athletic quarterback in the league. You can get away with a game manager-esque quarterback and sort of thrive off that. Again, and the last kind of point I want to make to this is one of the biggest things I think that Tom Brady did that made him so great. And again, I think this links more back to mindset, but he knew that after his initial success, he was a big name and he can make money through brand deals and endorsements and stuff like that. So he would take pay cuts from the NFL or from the Patriots so they could go out and pay other players to make his teams better. And that's why he has 7 Super Bowls. So I just think, and again, you gave out all those shout outs to the Peyton Mannings, Aaron Rodgers, who am I thinking of? Patrick Mahomes. And I still think you'll see teams that are built like that, but I'm just saying I think the general trend might start to move where the quarterback doesn't need to be making the most money on my football team. Maybe it needs to be my 2 offensive tackles that give him 6 seconds in the pocket so then my $20 million receiver can get open, and then my quarterback can just throw the wide open pass to the receiver who runs it 80 yards for a touchdown, and we'll do that every time. So that's all I'm saying. You see these teams succeed without high-level quarterbacks. The trend will start to move. We don't need these high-level quarterbacks necessarily to win football games.
Tom Brady is that big exception, of course. We can talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
I think you look at the Super Bowl winners since, let's go 2001. So the last, we need to do 2000 actually. So this millennium, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Kurt Warner in 2000. Would you say that's a game manager or not a game manager?
I don't think I've watched enough Kurt Warner to
Okay.
accurately say
I
that.
would say I would say Kurt Warner's not a game manager. That guy is a great quarterback, right?
Okay.
Trent Dilfer won it in '01. We would both agree that is the very big game manager right there, but led by that amazing 2001 Baltimore Ravens defense,
Okay.
right?
Right.
I'll try to fly by this quickly.
Yep.
It then went with Tom Brady getting a Super Bowl. It then went to Brad Johnson, which is not a horrible quarterback, but 100% a game manager. And then let's just fly through Tom Brady, Big Ben, Peyton Manning, Eli Manning, Big Ben, Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers, Eli Manning, Joe Flacco, Peyton, Brady, Foles, Brady, Patrick Mahomes, Matthew Stafford, Mahomes, Hurts, Flacco, Eli Manning, Brad Johnson. I think Trent Dilfer are your 4 game managers there. I think out of 25 Super Bowls, 4 been
Nick
won by
Foles.
Oh, Nick Foles. So yeah, I would say 1 out of every 5, right? And now I can look at that 2001 team, Trent Dilfer. That was maybe one of the best defenses of all time, right? You see why that can happen, get away with it. So
And again, I'm not saying, and again, I agree with you and all that, but if you look back to those time periods, when you look at the top teams from the AFC or NFC, those sort of quarterback led teams, those high level quarterback led teams are usually consistently at the top. I'm saying right now in the NFL, you're starting to see those teams that are built differently that are sort of being consistently at the top. That's my point. What's at the top influences change, the rest of the thing. So that's why I'm saying you're going to maybe see that sort of swing towards roster creation. That's not, I need the best quarterback I can get right now. I think you're going to see a lot more. And I think Eli Manning's a great name you brought up. I think his whole Giants career, his Giants teams were built off that mindset. They won 2 Super Bowls from it. So I'm just saying, I think now that you consistently see that those teams are winning and doing good in the league today, you're going to probably start to see a trend where more teams are going to start wanting to build that sort of foundation.
yeah, I see your point. I'll disagree. I think it's more going to be about the guys around your elite quarterback and the money that they're tied into them, right? So like with Eli, of course, he had Ahmad Bradshaw running back, was not getting paid much money.
Mm-hmm.
There is the running back argument that only really Saquon has been the guy to break, where it's like if you pay a running back big money, you're not going to win the Super Bowl because you have too much money tied into a position that you can just kind of throw someone in there and get close to same production. So I think it's going to be the guys around, right? The money you pay them, because if you can get a Devontae Smith on a very low contract on his rookie deal, it's really going to help.
And see, I think that's another good
deal.
I think that's another good point to bring up is when you talk about that sort of mid 2000s, early 2000s level of quarterbacks. I feel like there's not a lot of wide receiver twos that were as big as household names as there are now. I think you see a lot more money being put into just the wide receiver room as a whole instead of just that wide receiver 1 spot. So I just think you see that more teams are like, yeah, I'm going to get this receiver, this running back, this line, and now I can just go get, and then I can look at these guys and be like, who wants to come play for me? I don't need to go out and get that guy.
Exactly. We'll leave it at that because we need one more game to cover. It's been once again a very awesome Nothing Green episode. So let's keep going. Let's go.
Last one.
The last game of the divisional round.
Bears, Rams.
In Chicago, snow was there, Baron. It was there.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about the conditions, maybe or maybe not being there. Rams get it done. I thought Chicago was going to win this game. I thought that was really what's going to happen. And I was talking about hunger and fire and all that.
Mm-hmm.
I, I am not a Chicago Bears fan. So when I say this, it's just maybe me being a little reactional to the money I put on the Bears. But I actually picked the Rams to win too. But if DJ Moore walks into Chicago next year with a Bears jersey on, or just walks into Chicago next year, I think it's a disgrace. He's been a player that really has not been on a winning team, and he finally gets there. And you see some of the plays. This isn't a one-time thing because I've seen it with him. It's not full effort, right? That's what I'm saying. If you go out and get a guy who's hungry, who's not getting paid much, who wants to get paid, that's where things like that can happen. So
Yeah, I just don't know if you're comfortable. I think you're gonna have to really feel comfortable going into next. Like if you trade DJ Moore, it would be something that happens at the start of next season because I think you're gonna want to wait until you feel comfortable with Rome Odunze stepping up. I think
I think,
they're comfortable with Luther Burden moving
yeah,
into a wide receiver 2 role. I just think can Rome Odunze become a wide receiver 1 right now, or does he need kind of one more year to sit behind someone? Because I think if you don't have a wide receiver 1 to throw out next year, kind of coming off the year you just had, it's not going to be pretty for those fans. But yeah, I kind of agree with you and DJ Moore. I don't think he's going to have much value left to the team. Also, this is a very young team, and he's on the older side, so probably want to get some value from him while you still can. But while we can talk about the game, ultimately Caleb Williams had some late game theatrics. I'm sure everyone's seen that incredible fourth and goal throw just to go into overtime. But there's two things I kind of want to talk about with this game. Obviously being more of a defensive game, 17-17 to go to overtime. Would you have gone for 2 there, Brooks?
I would not have.
See, I kind of think I would have. This was a very
Yeah.
defensive game. I don't really. Again, I think you kind of take a step back and look what your quarterback had to do just to put you in this position to go into overtime. Um, I don't know. In that moment, I feel like, and again, this is kind of where it's sticky because if you're Ben Johnson, this kind of leads into my next question, or not next question, but my next point was all those 4th down conversion calls were. That's ultimately, I think, what killed him or what killed them. There were, I think, 3 4th and goal scenario, or not 4th and goal, but 4th down scenarios that they were in field goal range but decided to go for it. And if you kick a single one of those field goals, you win the football game. So it's just not it's in hindsight doesn't look great, but obviously you're Ben Johnson, so you want to live off the philosophy that got you that far, which was going for it on 4th down a lot. So I don't hate that he went for it on 4th down a lot. You just want to see that he converts it more. But I think if he saw more success on those 4th down conversions, I think he might have gone for 2 on that.
I think what stopped him going for 2 and what stopped me for going for 2 was that 4th and goal that got denied on.
Yeah, it's also
Very,
true.
very similar yardage. I think it may actually been perfect yardage for it. Ran a spacing concept, got broken up. The biggest thing that frustrated me from this game is, can Caleb Williams run a little more, please?
Yeah.
Right? Like, it felt like one of those games where his feet would have really, really helped him, and they really did help him when he used them. But that DJ Moore play, of course, being me, I always talk during the game. That's what I do. And I'm just like, run, 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 run. Right before he threw that ball, wasn't his fault, but still, just pick up the yards, get yourself closer to field goal range to Cairo Santos, who's been very good in the postseason, still has not missed a kick in the postseason, and still a very good kicker at Soldier Field. So I would have put my kicker in position. I would not have gone for 2. I feel like Caleb Williams should use his legs more. I think a great example was that he had that 25-yard run down the left sideline. He had that 3rd and 5 in overtime where he ran to the right side and just beat it to the down line. He put himself for that 4th and 1, scrambling to the left, getting close to the first down chains. I mean, he should have used his legs a lot more. It was very successful when he did. So I thought that was kind of an issue.
That's probably something
Um,
you'll see more next season.
Yeah, and I thought Ben Johnson out of the fourth down conversions, I thought the first fourth down in the first quarter he should have kicked the field goal. It was like a 4th and 3, and I thought you should have just taken the points because I think points in the early game is a lot better sometimes than scoring points in the late game because and I think the Bills are a perfect example here too. Josh Allen gives up 3 points to the Broncos fumbling the football. He can just hit the ground, go to halftime, or just throw something deep. They go and they kick that Matt Prater field goal. They win the game. So you never know how 3 points literally changes the entire aspect, right?
Yeah, no, exactly.
Because 3 points can sometimes change it from a 1 possession to a 2 possession game, a 2 possession to a 3 possession game. So people need to realize touchdown's only just double a field goal, right? You still have to hit the extra point, and sometimes that can miss. So just take the half the touchdown, right? And your the offense has been struggling a little bit to get going. So that's how I would have put it.
Yeah. No, that's going to be one of the biggest stories of that whole game is any one of those field goal attempts. If he decides to even try and attempt it, if one of them goes in, the Bears are playing in Seattle next week. But we'll talk about it more next episode. But I don't think anyone wants to play in Seattle next week.
Yeah, it's a tough place to play.
But is there anything you'd like to add from the divisional round, Brooks?
There is. Speaking of the Bears are one of those teams you look at and you go, they'll be in the playoffs next year. They got young Caleb Williams and that company, but I'm a little skeptical of the Bears next year. And here's why.
Okay.
Okay, let me make my argument.
Yeah.
This team, I'm not skeptical they make the playoffs, but I'm skeptical of their way, how deep they can go. This is what I want to see in the offseason. Your defense was 29th in yards. The only reason that you have made some of these comebacks, the only reason that, a lot of comebacks this year too. They're always a lot in losing positions. Yeah. So this team gave up a lot of yards on the defense. It was the turnovers that really helped them. Number 1 in the league in turnovers, a lot of interceptions. I just don't think that's something that you can just bank on replicating the next year, right?
No,
if you look at the Texans defense, I can bank that they're going to be good next year because you look at the edges. If those edges are great, Danielle Hunter, Will Anderson, you look at their corners, really solid. Derek Stingley Jr., Jalen Petrie, is like their second and third guy is amazing. So those are names I can look at and be like, that team I have confidence in next year for defense. But the Bears defense was a lot turnover based. And you can't just play the turnover defense every year and get away with it.
Yeah. They need a game wrecker on the defensive line. That's what I would do with my first round draft pick this year, if not offensive line. But I'm also definitely looking at DJ Moore offers.
Yep. I doubt he gets any offers.
You could probably get a 5th out of him at this point. But yeah, definitely an interesting offseason for them as well. What was I going to say before we start talking? Oh crap. Excuse me. Sorry. Yeah.
Excuse.
I cannot remember. Crap. Something about something, but
Bears playoffs, Bears defense, being skeptical.
I don't think it was about the Bears. Yeah, I don't remember.
All right.
We'll just end it, I guess. Yeah, that's it. I don't have anything.
All right. Well, that'll be another episode of Nothing Agreed. Thank y'all so much for listening. And who do y'all?
I just remembered. Hold on. Sorry. Well, because we sat here and we were talking about coaching a little as well, but everyone's already saying that the crown jewel of coaching destinations right now is the Buffalo Bills head coach opening bill Brooks. But we've both sat here and said that that's not very an attractive job. What is the crown jewel for coaches right now, in your opinion?
Does it have to be open?
No.
So I think the Giants was a really good opening. I think that was a crown jewel opening because you have yourself a young rookie quarterback, you have yourself a young wide receiver, you have yourself a young running back, you have yourself good names on the defensive side of the football too, and you have a room to improve. You have a improved first round draft pick that is top 3, top 4, top 5, if I'm not mistaken. So they have a top 8, top 5 pick that they can go and get another game wrecker. They have a really good defensive line. They have their young quarterback. They have their young running back. They have the number one wide receiver. They have a decent option at tight end. They need to fix that offensive line a little bit, maybe get some help in the secondary. And I think the Giants are 1 to 2 years away, one being next year, two being 2 years from now, from making the playoffs, from really breaking that NFC East. So I think that was a crown jewel opening. I think that was the crown jewel. I don't want to pipe myself up, but I think the Falcons was a pretty good opening as well because you retained Jeff Ulbrich, a top 10, I think top 5 defense this year, actually. A team that just broke a lot of its records on defense. And you have Bijan Robinson, Drake London. You have Michael Penix, which is an interesting option. But you have an owner that's getting impatient. You have a new GM. You have a new president of ops. And what does that mean, Baron? As a Falcons fan, just looking at a history of NFL and NBA teams, that means you have a team that is maybe willing to pull the trigger on something massive.
We'll see Joe Burrow in the ATL next season. Kevin Stefanski is down there as well. Who knows? I do really want to give a shout out to the Browns opening, though. I think I've said it before on the show, but I really like the youth that they have down there. I'm gonna say I think Shedeur Sanders has at least earned himself another season, kind of based on what he's played. You like what Judkins can do. Harold Fannin looks like he could be really good. So maybe they start looking at some receiving help, some offensive line, and defensively. I mean, you just had a really good draft class defensively, and the best defensive player in the world.
You got Mason Graham who can plug up holes. You have 2 first-round picks. You have a guy who looks to be maybe an X factor on defense in Carson Schlesinger. So, yeah, you have some names on defense, and you still have the greatest defensive edge rusher.
I think they still have their DC too. So, yeah,
Jim Schwartz.
Yeah, I think he's still down there. So, yeah, definitely an attractive spot for sure. But we shall see what happens. Anything else?
That'll be another episode of Nothing Agreed. Thank you all so much for listening. What are your divisional reactions from this past weekend? Coach openings. Who do you want to see where? Other than that, that'll be another episode. Thank you all so much for listening in, and peace.